breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warm and friendly, hello! Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. We've got a great podcast for you. As we're in segment number 2, we're going to be joined by one of our good friends, Rob Donaldson, who does such great work over at Underdog Fantasy, along with the show/podcast Rob's Best Bets. We got to chat with him about what we might be seeing at the trade deadline with so many of these murky American League teams. We're also going to discuss what he's all taking a look at with regards to his bets for Monday. In the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, whatever you for this podcast, you have one or two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, there's CM. Naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, we did have ourselves a great day of baseball on Sunday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Tampa Bay Rays completely shut down the Cleveland Guardians 1-0 the final. Just one hit for the Guardians. Drew Rasmussen, he was tremendous. 9 punch-outs, 7 shutout innings. Garrett Clevenger, Brian Baker, they both landed scoreless inning. And Parker Messick, tough luck loser. 7 2/3 innings. He gives up 1 run. Colin Holderman lives up to his name, gets an out of the bullpen scoreless, but absolutely nothing doing here for the Cleveland Guardians on offense. A lot doing for the Royals, though. 5-4, they take down the Detroit Tigers. Framber Valdez, 3 runs, 2 of which were earned, give it up in 5 innings, and he was cranked deep by Lane Thomas, his 10th home run of the campaign. Michael Massey, a little bit later on, he would get his 8th off of Drew Summers. Summers gives up 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings, including that bomb. Ty Madden, well, he goes 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Brendan Hennefy, 8 scoreless inning, and Lou Inder Avila, not long for this game. 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 4 1/3 innings, but Matt Strahm, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Lucas Erceg, Nate Pearson, John Schreiber, and Steven Cruz, they all lend a scoreless inning to be able to get that one in. The Pirates get this one in, this by a count of 8-7 against the Chicago Cubs as James Taillon. His rough season continues. 7 runs allowed over a course of 4 innings, including 3 bombs. Ryan O'Hearn, 17th home run season. Esmeralda Valdez, his 14th home run season. Then home run number 1 for the backup catcher, Sean Ross. So congratulations to him. From there, Ryan Rolson gives up a run in an inning. Aaron Savali, 2 innings scoreless in long relief. And Trent Thornton, scoreless inning. Braxton Ashcraft, not what he was looking for. 4 runs allowed over a course of 6 innings, but good enough to get a win. Kermit Molchinski gives up a run in 2 innings. Mason Montgomery does give up a home run to Seiya Suzuki. 18th home run season, allows 2 runs in an inning, but the Pirates, they find a way to be able to get that one in. For the Washington Nationals, they get this one in 10-7 the final. They did trade away Curtis Mead prior to this game, but they didn't need him because instead they had CJ Abrams and James Wood, both give you good wood. Both give you a pair of bombs. 26th and 27th of the campaign for CJ Abrams, 29th and 30th for James Wood. For Cole Drake, he gave up a pair of those bombs, 4 runs allowed in 4 innings. Jonathan Loaisiga gives up 1 of those home runs, 2 runs in an inning. Ryan Thompson, 2/3 of an inning scoreless. Braden Garcia, he gives up 3 runs, 2 of which weren't in an inning. Kevin Ginkel, he gives up 1 of those home runs, a solo home run in 1 1/3 innings. And for the Diamondbacks, pair of home runs in this one as Miles Michaelis gives them both up, gives up 3 runs over the course of 4 innings as Ketel Marte of the Marte Parte, he gets his 19th home run of the season. And Geraldo Perdomo, he goes deep for home run number 8 of the season. From there, Ryan Cornelio, he gives up 1 run over the course of 2 innings. And you had Max Kranick give you a scoreless inning. Tom Cosgrove, he goes for an inning, he gives up a run along the way. Matt Crook gives up 2 runs without getting it out of the bullpen, but Clayton Beater, scoreless inning to be able to get that one in, and that gets the Washington Nationals back above 500, 54-52 for them. The Miami Marlins still have not won a game since the All-Star break. 5-3, they fall to the Salam Diego Padres as for Walker Buehler, 3 runs over which were earned in 5 1/3 innings. Kyle Stowers took him deep for his 13th home run season. From there, Yuki Matsui, a pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Wandy Peralta, Andre Motorhone, Mason Miller, all lend a scoreless inning. Jansen Junk did not live up to his name. 1 run allowed in 4 2/3 innings. Michael Peterson, great name, and out of the bullpen squirrels. Kay Gibson, Tyler Zuber, Pete Fairbanks all lend a scoreless inning, but Lake Bakar threw this game into the lake. 4 runs allowed in an inning of work, and he gave up a pair of bombs as Manny Machado gets his 23rd home run of the season. Jackson Merrill, his 15th. The Red Sox are now 17-2 in their last 19 games, 6-1. They take down the Toronto Blue Jays. As for the Jays, Kevin Gausman, 3 runs allowed over a course of 6 innings, considering how he's done recently. That's actually not bad. Braden Fisher from there, 2 runs allowed and 1/3 of an inning. Brandon Little gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Alex Mecco, a scoreless inning for him, and then you had Ranger Suarez. Not long for this game, but solid. 4 shutout innings. From there, Ryan Watson gives up a run in 2 innings, but Justin Slayton, Teron Guerrero, Greg Weiser, they all lend a scoreless inning, and the Blue Jays now 10 games below 500. The Mets are about a billion games below 500, but they got to win here. 8-3, they take down the LA Dodgers. Emmett Sheehan just 1 run allowed over the course of 5 innings. Freddie Peralta 3 runs to which were earned in 4 innings, but bullpen had Peralta's back. Cino Perez, pair of scoreless innings. Brooks Raley, Luke Weaver, Devin Williams all lend a scoreless inning, and then Jack Dreyer 2 runs allowed in a third of inning. Evan Phillips, he gives up a solo home run in 2/3 of an inning as he was taken deep in this one by Tyrone Taylor, his 8th home run of the campaign, and you would have from there Mr. Marcus Semien get his 11th home run season. That comes off of Will Klein. Gives up 4 runs in an inning of work. Did have a scoreless inning out of Charlie Barnes, but too little too late there. And for the Dodgers, they go 2 of 13 with men in scoring position. The Atlanta Braves win a low-scoring slog, 3-2. In 11 innings, they take down the Orioles as the Orioles 0 of 10 with men in scoring position. The Braves would leave 14 men on base, but they had Ronaldo Lopez on their side as well. 5 2/3 inning scoreless. The Doddfather, Dylan Dodd, 1 1/3 inning scoreless. Dylan Lee gives up his home run to Pete Alonso, 22nd home run of the campaign. Raciel Iglesias, unearned run, give it up in his inning work. But you had Danny Young, Tyler Kinley combined for scoreless 10th and 11th innings. And the Wizard of Oz, Shane Baz, not long in this game. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 4 1/3 innings. You had Albert Suarez be able to give you 2 scoreless innings. Josh Walker comes in for 1 1/3 innings scoreless. Anthony Nunez, scoreless inning. Tyler Wells, a scoreless inning. And then Andrew Kittredge gives up the unearned run in the 11th inning. Austin Riley had a double that ended up being the difference for the Atlanta Braves here. On Sunday Night Baseball, the Yankees just absolutely line-based 11-4. The Philadelphia Phillies do get the job done as for Arcudas, first Sanchez does give up 3 runs over the course of 6 innings. There was a pair of errors, including one of his own that hurt him. Tim Mesa would give up a home run to Ben Rice, 31st home run in the campaign, but Chase Shogert, 2 shutout innings, and Ryan Yarbrough, not good in this game in relief, 5 runs allowed in 3 innings, but he was better than Will Warren, who in his 3 innings, he gave up 6 runs, all of which weren't, including a home run to Bryson Stott, 8th home run in the campaign. Tim Hill, Camilo Duvall both give you a scoreless inning, but Yankees' struggles without Aaron Judge continue. The Angels have struggled all season long. They're 18-36 on the road, but they do get a win over the Giants, 4-3 the final. It's Jose Soriano, he gives up an unearned run in 5 innings. Sam Nateras, Chase Silseth, Ryan Sefrian all give you a scoreless inning apiece. Sam Bachman would give up 2 runs in a third of an inning, but Mitch Ferris cleans up the mess, gets the final 2 outs of the game, and for Mr. Weisenhunt, not what he was looking for. 4 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings for Carson Weisenhunt as he was taken deep twice in this game. Going deep for the Angels, home run number 12 of the season for Orde Soler. Joe Adell sets fire to the rain, 16th home run of the season. Adrian Don't Call Him Doogie Howser, 4 shutout innings, but too little too late out there. And for the Milwaukee Brewers, it was early and often that they destroyed the Rockies in this game. 11-2 the final. They were up 3-0 at the end of the first inning. Not long for this game was Jacob Mizorowski, but he was solid. 12 punch-outs, 5 innings. He did allow a solo run in this game to Cole Carrick, his 5th home run in the campaign, and then Willie Castro, a little bit later on, off of Grant Anderson. He would get his 10th home run of the campaign. Anderson gives up that home run in his inning work. Chad Patrick, Aaron Ashby combined for a scoreless inning. Craig Yoho and Bryce Wilson both give you a scoreless inning, and Kyle Freeland, well, he continues to suck. 5 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings, and he was cranked deep by Andrew Vaughn, 4th home run of the season. Jimmy Ergett gives up 3 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Victor Vodnik, 2 runs allowed in his inning work, and Brett Sullivan, that would be the backup catcher, he gives up a run in an inning. For the Walker Texas Rangers, they got themselves a lead over the Seattle Mariners, and then they give up a 4 spot in the 7th inning. 6-4. The Mariners get a crucial win as Logan Gilbert gives up 3 runs in 5 2/3 innings. Edward Pizarro does give up his home run in his inning work to Ezekiel Lurin. 11th home run season, but Gabe Spire 4 outside the bullpen squirrels. Andres Munoz squirrels saying to be able to get the save, and Jacob deGrom, not long for this game, but wasn't bad. 1 run allowed over the course of 5 innings. Robbie Elstrom is squirrel saying, but then Tyler Alexander, Cole Winn, they combined to give up the 4 runs in that 7th inning, with Winn giving up a home run to one Mr. Randy Arozarena, his 12th home run of the campaign, and then Dom Canzone a little bit later on, he would get his 16th home run of the season. That also came off a win. That was a 3-run shot for the Peoples. Brandon Peoples, he came in for a scoreless inning. Peyton Gray gives up a run in an inning, and now the Rangers 1 game above 500. So things on heavy out there in the ALS. So the Athletics will not be contributing too much to that. They lose to the Minnesota Twins 11-8 the final. Jeffrey Springs gets sprung once again. He gets 4 outs and he gives up 5 runs, 4 of which were earned. Luis Morales gives up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 4 2/3 innings. Jeff Harpley, he gives up 3 runs in 2 innings of work. Connor Prelip, nice start here. 1 run allowed in 5 2/3 innings. Cole Sands was pounding Sands from there. 5 runs allowed in a third of an inning, including a home run to Nick Kurtz, 21st home run in the campaign. From there, though, Tommy Nance, Cody Funderburk both give you a scoreless inning. Travis Adams does give up 2 runs in his inning work, but Twins just 1 game below 500. What they now do with Joe Ryan, that's a little bit of a question mark. for the St. Louis Cardinals. What they might do at the deadline is a question mark. They lose in 10 innings to the Cincinnati Reds, 5-3 the final. Andrew Abbott gives up 2 runs over the course of 6 innings, taken deep by Ivan Herrera, 12th home run of the season. You would have Julian Garcia give up an unearned run in the 10th, but solid work here from the bullpen. TJ Antone, Brock and Robert, they combined for 2 shutout innings. Pierce Johnson, a scoreless inning. Kyle Leahy, nice start here. He does give up 2 home runs as he was taken deep by Cabrian Hayes, 3rd home run of the campaign. Ellie De La Cruz, his 18th, but both were solo home runs over the course of 6 innings, so he gave up only 2 runs. Luis Castillo, Ryan Stanek, George Soriano, all on his scoreless inning, but the Mets advanced 3 runs, 2 of which weren't given up in the 10th. He only got 1 out. Justin Brule had to clean that up. He got the final 2 outs of that, but too little too late there. And for the Chicago White Sox, they absolutely layered on the Astros, 12-3 the final. Eric Fetty, he does get a little bit whopped in this game. 3 home runs allowed, but all 3 were solo shots, as you had Jeremy Pena go deep twice for his 10th and 11th home runs of the season. Taylor Trammell, he was able to get his 4th home run of the season, but limited the damage from there. Jordan Nix, Grant Taylor, Chris Murphy, and Sir Anthony Dominguez, all on his scoreless inning. Sean Newcomb, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and Ronald Blanco gives up 5 runs in 5 1/3 innings. Take it deep twice in this one, as you had Miguel Vargas get his 22nd home run in the campaign, and then Montaka Murakami, 21st home run of the season. He would then go deep a little bit later on for home run number 22 of the campaign, as 3 runs were given up by Miguel Olola. Hopefully I got that correct over the course of his inning work, and for Olola, he would also give up a home run to Junior Perez. That was his 3rd home run of the campaign. You would also get a bomb in this one for Chase Meadroth, 8th home run season. That comes off of Daniel De Los Santos. Gives up 2 runs in an inning of work. Brian King, he gives up 2 runs while getting 2 outs out of the bullpen. And for the White Sox, 55-49 this season. They just continue to go out there and get the job done. And what else is right now getting the job done? Unders in Major League Baseball. For the most part, this has been an overwhelming season, but the unders now have the lead on overs. We've seen about 50.4% of games go under the total, 779 unders to 767 overs, and in terms of pushes, I believe we're up to 37 pushes. Favorites on the money line hitting at about 56%, 861 and 676 among those 861 favorites. We have now seen 207 fail to cover the run line. Over the last 30 days, the under rate is 53.7%, 190 unders, 164 overs, and if math serves me correct, we've had 8 pushes along the way. Favorites on the money line, 57.5%, 201 and 148, but 51 of those favorites failed to cover the run line, and over the last 7 days, favorites are hitting at about 54.5% on the money line, 49 and 41, but 18 of those favorites failed to cover the run line, and the under rate in this time span, 55.3%, 52 unders, 42 overs, and a push. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now. That's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we do chat it up with our good friend Rob Donaldson right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beast and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
We're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beast and Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Rob Donaldson aboard, who does such great work over at Underdog Fantasy, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Does a tremendous job on the college basketball front and so much more. You're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at RobDFBN, YouTube.com/Rob Donaldson for the Rob's Best Bet Show. And Rob, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Greg. Always a great time to hop on, talk some baseball. And this is the hotbed of the year. This is where, those runs end up getting culminated because of the trade deadline, because of players getting called up from the minor leagues. It's the most important, crucial time of the year, and we're already starting to see some teams kind of go and make those deals, and also some teams that are fading away and probably will end up being sellers. So a lot of things that I'm going on right here.
Yep, and congratulations to the LA Angels for being sellers once again. The one time that they bought was in the last year of Shohei Ohtani, when they really should have traded him away. So that's a team that's going the wrong way down a one-way street. And when it comes to the American League, how do we take a look at some of these teams like the Tigers and the Twins that just seem to be right on that cut line, and we don't know what they're going to be doing until maybe like 24 or 48 hours before the deadline?
Yeah, and then ultimately the Cleveland Guardians and the way that they've been playing as of late as well has given more hope right to those same teams, because ultimately, I mean, you look at the number 3 team in terms of record in the American League, it's the Chicago White Sox, and they're one bad losing stretch away from being a bottom 3 team in the entire American League. That just shows you the range and just how compact really every single team in the American League actually is, because ultimately we saw the Boston Red Sox go from bottom dwellers in the American League to the fourth best record, and it happened in a blink. And ultimately, is there another team in the mix there that can maybe find that magic? Maybe, but do you want to hemorrhage your future and really go out there and trade away your prospects to acquire rentals to make a push if you're one of those middling teams? I think definitively no. I would say this is one of the weird years where we're going to see a lot of teams either stand pat or just sell while being firmly in the mix. And ultimately, I think we've already started to see some moves that kind of align with that thinking.
And how do you think that teams should be aligning themselves? Because I think that there's like two sides of the coin. Certainly, there are a lot of teams that are hovering right around 500 that they aren't very great to start with. But also, we have never seen the American League so weak. So if you're a team like the Astros, one good winning streak, and all of a sudden you could be a top 3 team in the American League.
Yeah, surely they're only 5 games back of being the third record in the American League. So if you are talking about, the possibilities and the upside of certain things happening, for sure. And, something that, front offices are going to take into account because of the rumors that are swirling for next year in terms of a requirement on each individual organization paying X amount of dollars. That's going to incentivize a lot of players a lot of teams and organizations holding on to their top prospects, not really kind of shelling them away. And how does that, affect potentially the trade deadline here for a lot of teams that I believe don't have the capability of winning a World Series, but have the capability of making the playoffs? I think we've seen this kind of crazy dynamic switch, Greg, over the last 5 years in particular, where if it's not a World Series year for an organization, that team or that organization isn't going to be so really kind of steadfast in making some moves. We've seen the aggression coming out of teams that are willing to spend. The Yankees every year, the Dodgers every year, the Rangers as of late. The teams that are willing to go and cough up serious money for free agents. But what about those teams in the middle, right? You mentioned the Twins, the White Sox, the Guardians, the Mariners, the Orioles, teams that haven't really shelled out a ton of money over the years that are kind of firmly in the playoff conversation. I tend to think that we're going to see the continuation of those teams planning for the future despite being in that playoff contention right now, because all that really matters in this game is either you're building for a World Series or in your World Series window. And right now, I think that's how teams are aligning themselves.
Yep, and I do think that that's such an interesting dynamic in this case. As joining me on the show, we do have our good friend Rob Donaldson, does such great work over at Underdog Fantasy, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And we've got a lot of interesting games that are going to be going down for Monday. And we've talked about this guy a few times. We haven't been able to fade him in a while, but boy, this looks like a golden opportunity. The Blue Jays are only plus 105 to a plus 110 with Max Scherzer going against Andrew Alvarez. Scherzer hasn't pitched in a month and a half. His ERA is above 10. He's giving up 3.7 home runs per 9 innings and is going against the number 1 offense in all baseball. Am I missing something here, or does this feel like a really, really strange price on a guy Max Scherzer that, yeah, the name is great, the numbers are not?
Even with the Nationals trading away a guy like a Curtis Mead, who's having a phenomenal year as a right-handed power bat, they still have the best left-handed hitter on the planet right now. And I'm not even talking about James Wood, by the way. I'm talking about C.J. Abrams, who post-All-Star break has 7 home runs, 15 RBIs, has an OPS that's like 13 million. I mean, he's going up against a guy who tosses 91 into the zone as if it's just like a freebie. So, yeah, no, the Blue Jays, honestly, this is one of those weird times where the Nationals, when you compound, I can guarantee you they're going to get after Scherzer with some hard contact. Whether he can keep it in the yard, we'll see, but ultimately, I think the Nationals will do damage. I love the first 5 angle here in particular because the Nationals bullpen is atrocious in its own right, but the Blue Jays offense is the other part of this equation where they are just not good. The disappearance of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. this season has really been ultimately one of the big things and big reasons why the offense has fallen into the tank. But outside of him, it's not like it's on many other players in that lineup that are contributing themselves. So ultimately, you have a bad offense with the Blue Jays with the worst pitcher in baseball potentially going up against a left-handed heavy lineup in Washington that is hitting the ball crazy hard right now. Yeah, I tend to think the Nationals are going to blow this thing open very, very fast.
Yeah, like, man, Max Scherzer having not pitched a month and a half, being here at like plus 105, plus 110. That didn't make a lot of sense to me. And then I take a look at this game. What we get out of the Pirates, I think, is interesting because they're a young team that is still very much alive in the National League playoff picture. They've got some good young pitching, but it's really been the offense. They've been number one in terms of run creation at home. Merrill Kelly's another one of those guys that appears to be about as washed as fresh linens. And right now for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they're slim underdogs here of like even money plus 110. Want to get your thoughts here because Mitch Keller has not been good this year. I can't trust in Merrill Kelly one bit here, though.
Yeah, and ultimately, you kind of mentioned the Pirates lineup, and that was at the beginning part of the season, and even heading into the All-Star break, that was the reason why they have found themselves firmly into the wild card mix. Now, post-trade or post-All-Star break, rather, this offense has kind of torpedoed itself. I don't know what's necessarily happening. Brandon Lowe had a good Sunday, but when you're talking about Brandon Lowe, Brian Reynolds, Ryan O'Hearn, Marcell Ozuna, four guys that were kind of considered that meat of the lineup potentially. Those guys are all hitting, sub 500 OPS post All-Star break, and we're about a week and a half removed at this point. So is that potentially, are they in that kind of weird cold slump? Obviously, Connor Griffin has hit the IL, and having that, leadoff energy right out the gate, missing that is always going to hurt. And O'Neill Cruz has missed now plenty of time. So maybe they're just kind of going through that mid-season lull. I don't necessarily know if it's going to pick up here against Merrill Kelly because, to your point, he's given up a ton of hard contact. Ultimately, it's one of those kind of stay away type games because of the range of possibilities, in my opinion, but we'll see what happens. It's a meaningful game in terms of the trade deadline. That is for sure.
Yep, this is going to be really interesting to see what we get out of the Pirates moving forward as our good friend Rob Donaldson, he does such great work over at Underdog Fantasy, joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, and this one I think is interesting too. How about Orioles versus the Tigers? Right now, the Tigers slim like minus 110, minus 120 favorites. We've got a lot of those games on the board here. And totals 8.5. Kyle Bradish against Kadir Montero. Two opposite pitchers. Montero pitches a contact, but really doesn't give out a lot of walks. Bradish relies upon strikeouts, but gives up a lot of walks. Want to get your thoughts here because the Orioles have heated up a little bit. Tigers have heated up right here. Something's got to give.
Yeah, and ultimately the Orioles are coming off, two of their last three games being extra inning affairs, and the bullpen is tarnished. It wasn't good even coming into this past series. It's blown wide open where they're heading into this game with a really kind of detrimental back end. And so Kyle Bradish is going to have to go out there and shove for 6 or 7 innings strong to kind of hold up his end of the bargain. That's a lot to ask for a guy that does run up his pitch count quite a bit. And Kadir Montero on the other side, he's had a really good season, but the underlying numbers still scare me when you're talking about positive results that could potentially not be there the rest of the way. And so ultimately, I look at this game as kind of the first 5 frames because of just the unreliability of what could happen when the Orioles bullpen and Tigers bullpen comes into play. I actually just like taking a first 5 money line here with the Orioles. I think Kyle Bradish is a good pitcher. I think he can go out there and do his thing for about 4 or 5 innings. And ultimately, again, I think that negative regression rather for Kadir Montero is on the horizon. So go ahead and give me the O's on the first 5 money line in this game.
Yep, and with the Orioles, you mentioned it. Man, I don't have a lot of faith in that bullpen. And surprisingly, the Tigers' bullpen has been really good recently. So that's fascinating. And then this one is another one that I think is interesting out there in the American League. Thank goodness we have a day game. Mariners versus Rangers. Mariners have been like a pick'em / a favorite in pretty much every game in this series. They are back to that with George Kirby being on the bump. Now, it is Kumar Rocker on the flip side for the Rangers, who, well, you never know what you're going to get out of him. Total is 8. Want to get your thoughts here because the Mariners just feel like they've been, shall we say, overvalued all season long. At the same time, too, it gets to be a little bit difficult to back Kumar Rocker.
Yeah, tell me if you've heard this before, Greg, where it's a trade deadline approaching. The Mariners find themselves in the middle of the standings, and they are yet again looking to acquire offense. I mean, it's every...
You can just schedule that tweet every single year. It's like, oh, it fits.
And I will give their front office credit because although they don't like spending money, that is very obvious. Every single deadline, they do go out and acquire the Josh Naylors of the world, the Randy Arenas, and they will try to hold on to those guys for dear life until far past the window of holding on to them, because at one point in time, those are exciting additions to the lineup. And again, every single year, it feels like the Mariners are on the hunt for offense, but they have those great pitchers. And interestingly enough, with all the talk about potentially the Mariners bringing up Cade Anderson, a guy like a George Kirby is actually one of the names that's being filtered out there as a potential trade piece for that offense. And so where is his mental state going into this start against a team that is ahead of them in terms of the wild card standings, the AL picture, when you're talking about the Texas Rangers? I tend to think the Rangers, knowing that they're probably going to be buyers the way that they just don't care about prospects, are coming into this thing thinking, hey, we have the entire season left to play for. The Mariners and George Kirby, I think they're a little bit on the ropes right now. So go ahead and give me the Rangers on the full game money line here. I just don't know how George Kirby can perform. And at this point, I don't know if the Mariners offense can perform much at all as well.
Yep, it is going to be a very interesting game out there, to say the least. And then this one's another fun one. Another game where the favorite is right around like minus 110 to minus 120. It's the Braves going against the Mets. And Zach Thornton, in a small sample size, has not been bad here. That said, for the New York Mets, they are now without Juan Soto, and that's not great, to say the least. Martin Perez going for the Braves. I want to get your thoughts here because, I mean, if the Mets would have Juan Soto, it might be a play for me, but man, not having Juan Soto, they have no offense now.
Yeah, and ultimately, when you look at the Braves, I mean, we just talked about the Orioles and their, extra inning affair as well. Those extra innings came against the Braves. And if you watch that series, if you're listening to this podcast and you watch that series, you know that the Orioles, they started off with the leads, I think, in every single one of those games. And then the Braves just battled back, solo home run, solo home run, which we'll see if that can kind of keep this stretch going of good ball, because they obviously were in a massive rut heading into the All-Star break. Now, you'd mentioned Zach Thornton. He has looked fantastic. The Mets offense has not looked fantastic. And when you're talking about the Braves being slow starters out the gate over the last 3 or 4 games here, it makes me really want to take that first 5 under. I tend to think that it could be 0-0 after the first 5 frames. And right now we're getting a number hung out there of about a flat 4.5. I'm going to jump on that all day. I think that's one of my favorite bets here on Monday.
Yep, I think that's a solid one as well. And how do we take a look at a team in the Miami Marlins that has now lost 12 straight games? I mean, I don't know if they've won a game since the All-Star break. Like, I would need to check to see if they've won a game since the All-Star break. I'm pretty sure they have not. Tyler Phillips goes up against Zach Wheeler, not necessarily the guy that you want to try to end a skid against. I want to get your thoughts here because the Phillies are obviously Mondo favorites here. They're right around like minus 160, minus 170, but man, trying to get some fish into your betting diet has not been great, to say the least.
And to your point, no, they have not won a game since the All-Star break. And the crazy thing with the Marlins, and I feel like you and I both kind of saw this coming to some degree when they were firmly in that wild card mix. But, ultimately, it's not the offense that's letting this team down. They've consistently gone out there and at least scored, 3 to 5 runs every single time during this 12, game losing streak. It's just a matter of when you see the bullpen and when you see just the starters that they're rolling out there, and they have guys who are capable of going out there doing 5 or 6 innings and giving up only 2 or 3 earned runs. That's great if you have the support system for those next 3 or 4 innings. The Marlins just flat out do not. I mean, they're running out Pete Fairbanks as their best bullpen piece, and I think he has an ERA like above 5 right now.
It's about 7.
Yeah. It's terrible. This is just, another year. We're talking about the Mariners and their consistently bad offense every single time around this year. Well, it's another year where the Marlins have literally no bullpen pieces to speak of. And if they do have a decent one in there, he's going to get traded in a week. So I look at the Marlins, and if you're going to be taking that side, you got to look at the first 5 frames. I do think there is value on a first 5 money line here. But if you want to hop into the bed with the Marlins through the full game, I pray for you, because that is a tough existence.
You are quite literally sleeping with the fishes if you're doing that. And that's a place where you don't want to be right now. And speaking of places where you don't want to be, backing the Athletics. They were once 38-38, and I believe they have now gone 6-23 in their last 29 games. Jack Perkins going up against Peyton Tolley. The Red Sox have won 17 out of their last 19 games. Red Sox are about minus 155, minus 165. I know that it's chalky. How do you take a look at this? Because even with getting plus money on the Athletics, even with travel for Boston, boy, this is a no-go on the Athletics.
Yeah, this is a definite no-go on the Athletics. And again, this is one of the teams that was firmly in the AL picture, about a third of the way through the season. And we just knew
Heck,
that
a month ago they were 38-38.
And, obviously when you lose Nick Kurtz, that sucks. That's going to hurt you in some regard. But I mean, the bullpen, the starting rotation, everything about this team right now is in complete disarray. And the Red Sox are the exact opposite. They have turned their season. They've kind of sapped the Athletics and their winning ways over the last month here. And ultimately, Peyton Tolley is one of those big reasons why. They obviously just acquired Curtis Mead as well, and so we'll see if this is going to be his first game in the lineup. I don't think it will, but it's potentially we could just see a immediate bolstering of this offense. And Jack Perkins, he's one of those rookie pitchers that right now I feel bad for because he's pitching in a minor league ballpark that's just conducive to home runs, and he has not been doing a good job of not allowing said home runs. So go ahead and give me the Boston Red Sox on the run line through the full game. I think that they're going to be able to score 6 or 7, and I think that's going to be able to hold pat for a 2-run win.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Man, things are just not great out there in Sacramento, soon to be lovely Las Vegas, and we do have ourselves a great card. We've got 12 games, which for a Monday is pretty darn solid. Anything else that's really catching your attention here?
Yeah, I'm looking at a really pivotal series between the Yankees and the White Sox where, ultimately, if the White Sox are able to sweep the Yankees, they're going to be right there almost knotted with the same exact record. And so with the White Sox getting this series at home, this is going to be one of my favorite watches over the next 3 days. And so, leading off with this game, obviously Max Fried is coming back off the injury. He made a start last week. He looked really sharp, and now he's going up against a really hot White Sox lineup. I'm going to take a shot here with the White Sox on the full game. I just tend to think that, again, I like kind of going away from those big names that are coming back off of injury. I did it with Garrett Cole. That paid a lot of dividends. The Yankees lineup isn't really one of those lineups that I'm fearful of right now at all in any capacity as well. So that gives me a leg up kind of thinking about the full game market here. And ultimately, long-term in this series, I'm going to be taking a lot of shots in the White Sox. So give me them on the money line. One of my really fun watches if you're looking for something good to watch on Monday.
Yep, that is going to be a fun one. Noah Schultz has not been great, but for the Yankees going into Sunday Night Baseball, 3.3 runs per game in their last 29 games. So something's got to give there, and we always want to give as much time as humanly possible to our good friend Rob. Rob, you do such an amazing job looking at baseball, college basketball, the upcoming college football season, and so much more. So let the good people at home know what's on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Well, hey, Greg, this is our bread and butter time of year. We're going to see a lot of moves over the next coming weeks, and I'm excited for it. And, for those who want to follow my Major League Baseball bets on any given day, Twitter/X at RobDFB, and also my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Rob Donaldson. But as always, Greg, I appreciate having me on, man.
It is always great to be able to get Rob aboard. He does such an excellent job looking at this great sport, and every single time he joins me, lots of such great insight. So a big thanks to Rob for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here, lovely Las Vegas, for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by our guy, Rob Donaldson, who does such great work with the show/podcast, Rob's Best Bets. He does a great job over at Underdog Fantasy. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and did so once again today. So a big thanks to Rob for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Monday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GNet_D1. We're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. Let's get things started with 9:51, 9:52 on the card. The Philadelphia Phillies are on the road facing off against the Miami Marlins. Tyler Phillips goes for the Fish. Zach Whelan and Dylan Wheeler's on the bump for the Phillies. The Phillies who find themselves as Mondo favorites here. -160 to -170 is the number there. You're looking at the run line between +105 to -105 to lay run half with the Phillies. +145 to +150 is that number on the Fish. 7.5 is the total. The over is -115 to -120. Under is between even and -105, and there's just no taking the Marlins here. Set the money line price at a -166. I'm looking at even money or better on the run line. I'm willing to go up to a -102. For Zach Wheeler, I actually do think that he might be doing for a little bit of regression, but man, he has been tremendous this season. A 2.16 ERA. Right now, he's mowing them down, giving up 1 home run, 2 walks per 9 innings with 10.5 punchouts per 9 innings. I mean, the guy is just absolutely on one. He has given up 2 earned runs or fewer, and I believe all but 3 of his starts thus far this season. And well, for Tyler Phillips, he is giving up a lot of walks. Now, I will say this for Tyler Phillips. He has been significantly better when he has been at home rather than away from home. Right now for Phillips, 3.52 ERA, but does have a 4.56 fielding dependent. 6.6 strikeouts, 4.1 walks per 9 innings, and on the road this season, 6.23 ERA, giving up 7 home runs in 34 and 2/3 innings, 2 bombs in 44 and 2/3 innings, with a 1.41 ERA at home. So, massive divide there, but I mean, even for the Phillies, even though they're averaging about 3.8 to 3.9 runs per game away from home, that's the bottom 5 mark in all of baseball, and they are coming off of Sunday Night Baseball. I do typically like to fade teams coming off of Sunday Night Baseball. The Marlins have also lost 12 straight games. Bryce Harper, along Kyle Schwarber, have really just been getting things done for the offense, both giving you above a 355 on base. Schwarber, 33 Schwarber bombs. Harper, 20-plus home runs. Brandon Marsh continues at about a 285. He's been able to give you 15 home runs. Alec Boehm continues to be rough, but Bryson Stott, Trey Turner are both hitting a much more respectable 245. You've got someone like a Justin Crawford, who's been able to give you a bit of something. Now for the Phillies, this team has been relatively ordinary with their bullpen. It's a top-heavy bullpen. Ryan Kirkering, Ron. They've both been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. I will say, you've been able to get some good innings. Jonathan Bolin as well, but Jose Alvarado's been rough. Tim Meza, Chase Shogurt, guys like this. It has been a little bit less than savory for them, but I mean, the way that the Miami Marlins have toilet bowled with their bullpen because they're dealing with an injury to Anthony Bender right now. A lot of these long guys, they're currently out of the fold. It's just led to an absolute torpedoing. I mean, Calvin Fauché has an ERA that's above a 4.50. Pete Fairbanks continues to be absolutely awful, and it's a Marlins team that's currently a bottom 6 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. Owen Casey was really starting to pick it up, and now he's currently on the injury list, so that's been a big giant issue for the team. You've been getting some good on base out of Liam Hicks, right around about a 350 on base, 14 home runs out of him, but this team really relies upon station-to-station baseball. They're a top 5 team in terms of stealing bases, and Jacob Marcy, who's giving you like 19 or 20 stolen bases, he's hitting below the middle side of 200. Otto Lopez has been great, 15-plus stolen bases. He hits above a 300. You've had Xavier Edwards be able to hit right around about a 290. He's been able to swipe quite a few bags as well, but just do not like the form that the Marlins are in. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over, semi-total 7.7, and for the Phillies, anything of even money or better in on that run line. 9:53, 9:54 on the card. The Diamondbacks are on the road against the Pirates. Mitch Keller goes for the Buccos. Merrill Kelly for the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks are an underdog of +102 to a +110, -120 to -130 for the Buccos. 9 is the total. Under is -110 to a -115. Over is -105 to a -110. And I'm in on the Pirates. I set them at a -148. Merrill Kelly just has not been good this far this season. He's giving up 1.9 home runs per 9 innings. The swing and miss stuff is just way down as well. Fewer than 6 strikeouts per 9 innings. Right now, he's got a 586 fielding dependent with about 3.6 walks and 1.9 bombs per 9. Now, Mitch Keller, he does have a 4.90 ERA, lower 4.38 fielding dependent. This year, his ERA has been higher at home rather than away from home, but if you look at the career numbers, he's always been a little bit of a better pitcher at home. 1.1 home runs, 3.1 walks per 9 innings, and the Diamondbacks have been a little bit improved with their offense away from home, but they're still in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation away from home. Ketel Marte of the Marte Partes up to 19 home runs. He has been great for this team, hitting about a 255, but we've seen Corbin Carroll go into a little bit of a swoon, especially with the power. He and Nolan Arenado are the only two guys outside of Marte that have been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers on this team. Max Kepler does not appear to be the answer for this team. Geraldo Perdomo up to about a 360 on base, went deep yesterday. Gabriel Moreno sitting above a 3-iron, but these guys like a Tim Tewa, Ore Barosa at the bottom of the fold, Adrian Del Castro, they're just not cutting it. For the Diamondbacks, it's not a bad bullpen. They've been right around about league average in terms of bullpen ERA. These guys like Jonathan Loaizaga, Braden Garcia, Taylor Clark, they've been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Brian Thompson, I know he's been in and out. He's been relatively solid as well. Just don't trust in Paul Sewald. And the Pirates, they do have a little bit of a bugaboo with the bullpen. Gregory Soto has really regressed ever since a good start to the season. Brandon Eiser, well above a 450 ERA. Mason Montgomery has not been great. You've got Evan Sisk, who I would say is their best reliever on the injured list, but this Pirates team averages darn near 5.6 runs per game at home this season, and you just have a lot of guys that find a way on base. Having Nick Gonzalez and Jake Magnum hitting above a 300 is great. Ryan O'Hearn, 17 bombs, about a 345 on base. Brian Reynolds, Esmeralda, and Valdez have been able to give you over a 380 on base. Now, you've got Brandon Lau, who's been a little bit in and out. He was able to return yesterday, had 3 hits. He's been your main power guy with 20 plus home runs. That's big. You could use a little bit more on like the catcher spot for the team, but overall, it's a relatively solid offense, and I think that they get to Merrill Kelly here. Somebody total 9.3. I like the over. And for the Pirates, willing to lay up to minus 145 on the money line. 955, 956 on the card. The Braves are on the road against the Metropolitans. Zach Thornton goes for the Mets, and Mr. Martin Perez goes for the Untitled Braves. The Braves do find themselves between minus 110 to minus 120 favorites. Between even money to plus 110 is that number on the Mets. 8 to 8.5 is the total on the 8.5. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. On the 8, over is minus 120, and the under is even. Had Juan Soto been in the lineup, I probably would have been able to take a shot on the Mets. I had to downgrade them here. I'm willing to lay up to minus 126 with the Atlanta Braves. Now, for Martin Perez, he is posting up a 444 fielding depending compared to a 338 ERA. Pitching on a lot of contact, 6.9 very nice strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up about 3.8 walks per 9, and you do have to fear a little bit of regression here. He's given up 3+ runs in now 3 out of his last 4 starts, and it is a Mets team that has been better with their offense when they've been at home rather than away from home. And for Perez, when he has been away from home this year, darn near about 1.4 to 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 4.15 ERA, and for the Mets, they average about 3.8 runs per game away from home, closer to about 4.3 runs per game at home. But again, without Juan Soto, what do you really have in this lineup? Carson Bench has been able to give you a double-figure amount of homers. He's hitting right around about a 260. Francisco Alvarez, he's been able to give you a little bit of something. His on-base percentage is above a 330. And A.J. Ewan has been able to move line as well. Doesn't really give you a ton of power, but you know what? A 340 on-base for the team, that's acceptable. Mark Vientos does have 11 homers. He, Bench, Marcus Semien all at 11 homers. But Semien, 263 on base. Vientos, 256 on base. It's just not cutting it for the team. For the Mets, the bullpen has still been relatively solid. You've had a lot of these top-end guys be really good. Luke Weaver, AJ Minter, Oscar Brisbane, Brooks Raley. So, I mean, that's been a saving grace for the team. They've all been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Even Xavier Curry has been okay. We have seen Austin Warren just really toilet bowl for the team, though. And when it comes to what you're going to be able to get out of Zach Thornton, I do think that regression is coming. He's only getting about 6.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. To his credit, 1 home run allowed in 23 1/3 innings. In his 4 starts, he's been relatively solid, but now you go up against a Braves team that is a top 5 unit in terms of run creation away from home with darn near 5 runs per contest. Drake Baldwin, since the All-Star break, has really looked like himself once again. 371 on base. He's been able to give you 17 plus home runs. Albies. He, Mauricio Dubon, Dom Smith, Matt Olson, all in between about a 260 to a 270. Jim Jarvis, the new shortstop, he's in that fold as well. Albies has been able to give you 17 plus home runs. Olson, 25 plus home runs. Michael Harris is hitting darn near a 300 with 15 plus bombs. You just have a lot of firepower there in the Atlanta Braves. Still numero uno in terms of bullpen ERA in the National League. Having these guys like Dylan Lee, Dylan Dodd, Racio Iglesias, all being able to give you a sub 250 ERA. Tyler Kinley's been a little bit rough, but they used him for 19 pitches yesterday. Danny Young has actually been a nice find along with DDA Fuentes. So I do think that for the Braves, they get the job done here, and I do think that you get some scoring here. I do think that regression coming for Thornton. I like the over, so I told it at 8.7, and for the Braves, willing to lay up to minus 126 on the money line. 957, 958 on the card. You've got the Cubs, and they are going to be on the road facing off against the St. Louis Cardinals. We do know that David Peterson, great name, is going to be on the bump for the Cubs. Right now, it's to be determined for the St. Louis Cardinals. This game is presently off the board right now it is lining up to be Matthew Liberatore. I was seeing him on ESPN. I was seeing it on Fangraphs. And if it is indeed Matthew Liberatore going against David Peterson, once again, great name, I did set the Cardinals at a minus 117. So minus 116 or better, I'd be looking there at a plus 118 or higher. I'd be looking at the Cubs, and I did set a total here of an 8.9. So an 8.5 or less, I'm going to be in on the over. A 9 or higher, I'm going to be in on the under. For David Peterson, I actually do think that there's quite a bit of positivity coming from. His ERA is just all sorts of wretched. It's right around about 6 as it's officially a 597, but 0.9 home runs, 3.8 walks per 9 innings. Those are not necessarily the numbers that you'd expect for a guy with a nearly 6 ERA, and he goes up against the St. Louis Cardinals team that actually has not been very good with their offense at home. For the Cardinals, third worst in terms of run creation at home with about 3.75 runs per game. That goes up to about 5.2 runs per game away from home, where they're third in the big league, so a big giant divide there, and it has been a Cubs team that has been a top 5 offense in terms of run creation. They're averaging about 5.1 runs per game, so a little bit of an edge there for the Cubs. They are a team that they do leave quite a few men on base. Ian Happ and Alex Bregman are towards the top of the big leagues with that regard, and this is a team that has a lot of guys with, shall we say, lower batting averages, because like Michael Conforto is hitting at 237 but gives you about a 325 on base. Dansby Swanson is still hitting just a 220. Heck, Ian Happ is hitting at 220, but he's been able to not be Apples, 18 plus home runs, 333 on base. Even Michael Busch, 370 on base, but more like a 247 batting average. So do have to have a little bit of concern there. And for the Cubs, they are all sorts of banged up and through regards to their bullpen. Like, man, there are so many guys on the injured list right now. Phil Matone, Riley Martin, Hobie Milner, Daniel Palencia, Trent Thornton is dealing with an injury. So Ryan Rolson, Jacob Webb, those are really two of your main guys. They've been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. It's been an up and down year for Caleb Theobar. Someone like a Gavin Hallwell has been able to give you some okay innings. And for the St. Louis Cardinals, it's been shaky with their bullpen. Ryan Sanek posting up all above a 4 ERA. Matt Savancin has not necessarily been amazing as well. And then Jojo Romero going on the injury list. That does hurt you a little bit. And I think that there's a little bit of positivity to him for Matthew Liberatore as well. He has just really regressed from where he was last season, and he wasn't even amazing last year. 5.18 ERA, 42 fielding, depending as the 3.5 walks per 9 innings are really a concern. Give it up 1.6 home runs per 9 innings, and for the Cardinals, Jordan Walker is able to give you 22 plus home runs. You love what you're seeing there. Avon Herrera gives you a 360 on base, but that dips to more like a 320 at home. Alec Burleson, JJ Weatherholt, 15 plus home runs apiece. Both are giving you right around about a 340 with that on base. Could use a little bit more on some of these guys like Mason Wynn, Blaze Jordan at the bottom of the fold, but I do think that for the Cubs, you still have some concern with Peterson and that bullpen. Man, that's a little bit of an issue. So I did make the Cardinals a favorite here. Willing to lay up to minus 116 there, plus 118 or better. Looking at the Cubs, and then 8.5 or less in on the over at 9 or higher, the under. 959, 960 on the card. It's the Brewers. They're going to be on the road against the Giants. Tyler Mahle goes for the Giants, and Mr. Brandon Sproat is on the bump for the Brewers. Brewers who find themselves between minus 126 to minus 136 favorites, between plus 108 to plus 118. It's at number on San Francisco. 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 115 to minus 120. The over is between even to minus 105, and I actually like the under here. Semi-total at an 8.3. Have a Giants team that just has not been able to create a lot of runs at home this year. Now, Rafael Devers, Casey Schmidt with 20-plus home runs. That helps out the Cubs, but still, San Francisco, one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks in all of baseball. Giants are only averaging 4 runs per game at home, compared to about 4.3 runs per game away from home. For the Brewers, they do see their offense dip by like a quarter of a run when they're away from home as well, so you do see a little bit of slippage there, and it is a Brewers team that they always do rely upon small ball. This team is a top 6 team in terms of run creation, but a bottom 6 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. And getting back to that Giants lineup, you have had guys be able to move the line. Luis Arias along Jung-Ho Lee. These are a pair of guys hitting at 300 plus. You've been able to get some relatively good production out of Daniel Susich, who's back at the catcher spot after dealing with a little bit of injury. Bryce Aldridge starting to regress a little bit, but still giving you about a 360 on base. But Willy Adames, even though he's got 17 home runs, 225 average, 276 on base, we are starting to see this Giants bullpen start to toilet bowl a little bit as well. As it's been a rough season for Caleb Killian. He's got an ERA above a 4, but Sam Entages, JT Brubaker, these guys are below a 350 ERA. Eric Miller has been able to give you some better innings, and I like what I'm seeing out of Dylan Smith, Keaton Wynn. Flip side for the Milwaukee Brewers, this has been a top 7 team in terms of bullpen ERA as well. I know that there's been a few fumbles with likes of Trevor McGill, Abner Uribe and company, but things appear to be back online there. Uribe has been dealing with a little bit of injury, but I mean, these guys, Grant Anderson, Aaron Ashby, Craig Yoho, got a whole bunch of guys with a sub 350 ERA, and then with this lineup of the Brewers, just so many guys that move the line and get on base, like Bryce Durang, Jake Bowers, William Contreras, Gary Sanchez. You just go down the list of guys give you at least a 335 on base. Cooper Pratt, he's been able to give you about a 360 on base. Not necessarily a ton of power out of him, but I mean, all these guys are finding a way on. Andrew Vaughn is sitting above a 300. Jackson Trio sitting at 275 with a double-figure amount of homers. And for Tyler Mahle, just has not been a great season for him. Again, a guy that has been so much better when he has been at home rather than away from home, though. And he was a home merchant last season as well when he was with the Texas Rangers. That's another very pitcher-friendly ballpark. Right now for Mahle, 5.31 ERA, closer to a 4.52 fielding dependent. He's getting about 8.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but the 1.4 home runs per 9 innings, that's a big concern. At home thus far this season, 3 ERA. At home, he's giving up 1 home run per 9 innings. Away from home, well above 1.7 home runs per 9 innings and an 8.05 ERA. And then for Brandon Sproat, it does feel like he's starting to find a little bit of something. Still posting up a 5.09 ERA overall for the season, but he's now given up 3 earned runs or fewer in each out of his last 5 games. As a matter of fact, in terms of earned runs, because it's 3 total runs or fewer, earned runs or fewer, through 2 or less in each out of the last 5. 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 5.09 ERA, 5.21 fielding dependent. But I think that this ballpark helps him out. For the Brewers, I'm going to be willing to lay up to a minus 128 on that money line, and I do like the under. So I total at 8.3. 961, 962 on the card. The Mariners are going to be on the road facing off against the Walker Texas Rangers. Cooper Rocker is on the bump for the Rangers and George Kirby for the Seattle Mariners. Mariners are a favorite here of between minus 122 to a minus 132, plus 110 to a plus 115 is the number on Texas. 8 is the total, under is minus 115, over is minus 105, and somebody total is 7.8. I do like the under. Arlington is one of those ballparks that really suppresses offense, and the Rangers have played, I believe now, 10 out of their last 12 games to the over, but still, if you look at the overall season numbers for the Rangers, they're only averaging about 4.1 runs per game at home. That's a bottom 10 mark in all of baseball. And for Seattle, this has been a rough offense. Right now, 28th in the big leagues, averaging about 4 runs per game. Cal Raleigh has went from being the big dumper to just taking a big dump this year. That has been less than tremendous, to say the least. And for a lot of these guys, you're just not getting a ton of power. Like right now, your top power hitters are the likes of Dom Canzone, Julio Rodriguez, Colt Young. They're between about 13 to 15 home runs around there. Luke Raley as well. I think that Canzone is up to 16 with the home run that he had yesterday, but still, they're not necessarily lighting the world on fire. You don't necessarily have a ton of guys moving the line. Colt Emerson is sitting at 200. JP Crawford closer to 340 on base, but hitting just a 270 himself. Weston Wilson has not been able to give you too much. The Mariners are right now built on pitching, as right now for the Seattle Mariners, you've been able to get some good production out of Edward Pizarro, Gabe Spire in that bullpen. They've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Nick Davia's more around about a 350 or so, and he's been presentable, but you saw Matt Brash and Cooper Criswell currently out of the fold. And on the flip side for the Rangers, they did have to use up quite a bit of that bullpen, and they did have a nice bullpen collapse yesterday. You got Peyton Graves right around about a 350 ERA, Tyler Alexander still right around about a 320, and then the Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz, they've been relatively solid, but you do have someone like a Cole Winn who had the loss yesterday, posting up above a 6 ERA, and still not a lot of power with regards to this Rangers lineup as well. Now you do have guys that are moving the line. Brandon Nimmo, Ezekiel Duran, Justin Foscue, don't call his name, Alejandro Azuna. I mean, these are guys all hitting between about a 261 to a 271, and then Jake Berger and Jock Peterson have been your main power bats, right around about 15 to 16 home runs apiece, and Peterson gives you about a 341 on base. Berger more like a 300, and Wyatt Langford, he's obviously been really big for this offense, but you just have to have your concerns with Cooper Rocker. Even though for his career, he's been significantly better at home rather than away from home. This is a guy that pitches quite a bit of contact. To his credit, he does an okay job in terms of keeping the ball in the yard. Right now, 4.13 ERA. He's given up 1.1 home runs, 3.4 walks per 9 innings, and you take a look at those career numbers at home, his ERA drops by more than a full 2 points, 370 home ERA, 603 ERA away from home. But for George Kirby, he's been able to do a pretty solid job as well. He has pitched much better than that 357 ERA would indicate. 324 fielding dependent, 0.9 home runs, 1.9 walks per 9 innings. He's getting only about 8.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, so that has fallen off a little bit there. But for George Kirby, 3.14 ERA away from home, giving up about 0.5 home runs per 9 innings. So I'm in on the Mariners up to a minus 126 on the money line, and like the under, somebody total is 7.8. 963, 964 on the card. The Orioles are going to be on the road against the Tigers as Gadiel Montero goes for the Tigers. Kyle Baradish for the Orioles. Orioles find themselves as a relative pick'em here between plus 103 to a minus 104, minus 112 to minus 120 is that number on Detroit. 8.5 is the total, over and under both at minus 110, and willing to go up to a minus 113 on the Tigers. Set them at a minus 114. I just still have a lot of issues with the fact that Kyle Bradish has been giving up as many walks as he has this season. 3.49 ERA, but closer to 3 395 fielding dependent with the 4.1 walks per 9 innings. Now, to his credit, he has given up now just 8 earned runs over the course of his last 5 starts, so he's been able to do a relatively solid job there. And you look at what Bradish has done away from him, it's not too much worse than what he's done at home. 379 road ERA compared to a 320 ERA at home. And Kadir Montero, he is a guy that might be doing for a little bit of aggression because he does pitch a lot of contact, but he's been a master at inducing soft contact. 0.8 home runs, 1.9 walks per 9 innings, only getting about 6.6 punch-outs per 9, but 3.14 ERA, 357 fielding dependent. And again, with this Detroit Tigers team, they have been really good with their bullpen recently. You take a look, ever since June 1st, they're posting up a 3.11 bullpen ERA. That's actually a top 5 mark in all of baseball. And for the Orioles, to their credit, they've actually been number 4 in that time span as well, at 309. So both of these teams have really been able to round into form with regards to that bullpen. But for the Orioles, you're still without Ryan Elsley. Grant Wolfram is posting up over a 4.50 ERA. You've got a pair of guys I really like in Yunior Cano along with Uncle Rico Garcia. Both have been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Throw in their Tyler Wells as well, but Anthony Nunez is not necessarily a guy that I trust in. Shane Baz only gave you 4 1/3 innings yesterday as well, so have to have some concern there. Meanwhile, for the Tigers, Framber Valdez, he only won 5 innings yesterday, but they now have Brandon Hennefy off the injured list. Ty Men, who's a good long guy, they're getting him back as well. And Tyler Holton has been really good for this team. He's been able to give you a sub-325 ERA. Kyle Finnegan has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. It's a Tigers team that's been a little bit rough with their offense. You do have Dylan Dingler being able to give you 22 home runs, and then you've got pop from Spencer Torkelson, 19 home runs this season, and for Kerry Carpenter, 13 bombs. Both of these guys hitting below 210, and in the case of Carpenter, just a 276 on base, the bottom of the lineup. It has been all sorts of rough for the team, as you got the likes of Jake Rogers, throw in there Zach McKinstry, Matt Fearling, whole bunch of guys hitting at 215 or lower. They've got a bunch of mix and match guys like James Outman that have not done anything as well. But for the Orioles, they're in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of run creation away from them as well. Pete Alonso, and he's been solid, still not necessarily what they paid for though. 22 bombs, about a 345 on base. Gunnar Anderson does have the 18 home runs, but again, hitting about a 221. Samuel Basayo has been solid with his 16 home runs, but now you've got Adley Rutschman on the injured list, so they're looking at Chadwick Trump for some at-bats. You've got the likes of Tyler O'Neill, Jackson Holiday, Colin Cowser, Kobe Mayo hitting below a 225. So it is an interesting ordeal here. I do like the under as a result. I might tell that at 8.4 and want to lay up to a minus 113 on the Tigers money line. 965, 966 on the card. The Yankees are going to be on the road against the White Sox as Noah Schultz goes for the Sox and Max Fried for the Yankees. Yankees are a favorite here of anywhere between minus 132 to a minus 140, plus 115 to plus 121 is that number on the Southsiders. And you're right now getting a total of an 8.5 over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. And if we can get to a plus 125, which I'm seeing right now on the White Sox, I'm going to be in on them. I always do like to fade these guys coming off the injured list. And for Max Fried, I actually do think that he's going to be able to give you a solid start. First start coming off the injured list, 5 shutout innings, 1 hit allowed against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He had prior to that giving up 3+ runs in 3 out of his last 4 starts. So overall for the season, a 258 fielding dependent, and he has not given up like any home runs. He's given up 1 bomb in 66 2/3 innings. But again, he's made 1 start since May 13th. So that causes a big question mark there. And for Noah Schultz, he has not been the Mona Lisa Vito of pitching. The big thing is the command. Right now, he's given up 4.6 walks per 9 innings, 6.04 ERA, a better 530 fielding independent. But man, it's really not a whole heck of a lot better. But you want to know it's really not good. The New York Yankees and their offense. Right now, they are averaging 3.3 runs per game in their last 29 games. That was going into Sunday Night Baseball, so it might be skewed a little bit there. But Paul Goldschmidt, he had a home run in that series against the Philadelphia Phillies, but he's been all sorts of rough for this team. You've had Jazz Chisholm be able to give you 15+ home runs, but he's hitting below 225. You had Son Dominguez, 267 on base. Ryan McMahon has had a terrible season. The entire catcher spot is rough. Trent Grisham is giving you nothing. Ben Rice, still about a 360 on base with 25+ home runs, but he's regressed a little bit as well. The Yankees are just right now basing themselves around pitching. They've been number 1 in terms of bullpen ERA this season, and since June 1st, a sub-250 bullpen ERA. So these guys have been great. David Benner, Brent Hedrick, Paul Blackburn, Fernando Cruz. These are all guys give you a sub-3 ERA. But the White Sox have also been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st as well. We have seen improvement from these guys like Brian Hudson, Sean Newcomb, Grant Anderson, all being able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Trevor Richards has actually been able to give you some solid innings as well, and White Sox just flat out have the better lineup here. You've got a trio of guys in Miguel Vargas, Montaka Murakami, Colson Montgomery, all with at least 22 home runs this year. Recognize that Montgomery only giving you like a 300 on base, but in the case of Murakami, up to a 380 on base, had a big day yesterday, so love to see that. Tristan Peters is hitting a 285. Sam Antonassi has been able to give you about a 375 on base. You still have Chase Meadroth being able to move lines, so even though I do think that Max Fried might be able to give you a good start here, I just don't think that the Yankees provide the offense to get the job done. Like the under semi-total at 8.3 and plus 125 or better in on the White Sox on the money line. 967, 968 on the card. The Astros are going to be on the road against the Angels. Tatsuya Amai is on the bump for the Astros, while Bellarena is on the bump for the Angels. And the Angels do find themselves as a very slim underdog here. Going to be getting them anywhere between minus 102 to a plus 104. Meanwhile, minus 115 to minus 125 is that number on the Astros. 8.5 is the total. Over and under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. And I'm going to be in on the Angels here. I was willing to take a plus 103 or better for Amai. He just is not really acclimated to the States, in my opinion. The command has been all over the place because he's actually got really good swing and miss stuff. His strikeouts per 9 rate is 11, but 5.6 walks per 9 innings, 1.4 home runs allowed per 9. He's been a little bit better recently. 3 earned runs or fewer in 4 out of his last 5 starts, but he also had that one start against the Minnesota Twins where he got 4 outs and he gave up 5 runs. So you just don't know what you're going to be able to get there. And for Wildberry Urania, you do have to be concerned about his walks issues as well. 278 ERA, but he is giving up about 4.8 walks per 9 innings. He does keep things out in front of him with giving up only about a half home run per 9 innings, and he has been great recently. 0 or 1 runs allowed in 4 of his last 5 starts. He did have that one blow-up start against the Athletics where he gave up 7 runs, and he goes up against an Astros team that they certainly have the boom in the middle of the lineup. I'm looking at you, Yordan Alvarez, with over 33 home runs, over a 400 on base, and then Christian Walker, while he's not hitting for a lot of average, he's been able to give you 20 plus homers this season. Jeremy Pena, he's not necessarily the biggest power bat, but he had 2 home runs yesterday. He's hitting above a 300. You love to be able to see that. Jose Altuve's long in the tooth. He's a little bit washed, but these mix and match outfielders like Joey Looper Fido, Zach Cole, Cam Smith, the currently injured Bryce Matthews, Lamont Wade Jr., like so many guys hitting at 225 or lower. Smith has been able to give you a double finger amount of homers, but man, it's been relatively rough out there. For the Astros, to their credit, they've been a top 5 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st. That really helps you out, and you've got these guys like Brian King, Steven Okert, Josh Hader being able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Bennett Sosa is a guy that's coming back, hasn't necessarily been great this year, but that should be able to help out the bullpen as well. And for the Angels, overall for the season, the bullpen has been absolutely atrocious. If you look since June 1st, it's actually been a top 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA, which is really strange to say because they threw out their Alek Manoah earlier in the season, but some of these guys like a Sam Bachman, Jay Silseth, Sammy Natera, they've been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Jose Fermin, it's not been awful for this team. Now for the Angels, they also average like 4.7 runs per game away from them, closer to like 3.8 runs per game at them, so you've got that split. Mike Trout, Zach Neto, these 2 guys have been able to give you 18 plus home runs, and Joe Adell up to 16 home runs. Really doesn't move the line though, less than a 290 on base. Vaughn Grisham has been able to hit about a 250, and Nolan Chunol has been able to give you an on-base percentage of about a 355, so it's an interesting circumstance here. I do like the over because I do think that both of these starters might be in for a short night semi-total at 8.7 and plus 103 or better, like the Angels on the money line. 969, 970 on the card. The Red Sox are going to be on the road against the Athletics. Jack Perkins goes for the A's, and you've got Mr. Peyton Doley going for the Red Sox, and the Red Sox do find themselves as a pretty good size favorite here. You're going to be laying between minus 148 to a minus 168 on them, plus 123 to a plus 142 is that number on the Athletics sign. It's the total. Over and under both at minus 110, and made the Red Sox on the money line a minus 164. If you're looking to lay a run half between even money to minus 110, I'd be willing to go up to about a minus 110 here. I set mine at a minus 111. For Jack Perkins, he's actually getting 10.5 to 11 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's given up a lot of hard contact, and he just doesn't really control his stuff. 675 ERA, 1.6 home runs, 3.4 walks per 9 innings, and out there in Sacramento, all these pitchers have been so atrocious for the Athletics, and he's not backed up by a good bullpen. Right now for the Athletics, 551 bullpen ERA. That is dead sinking last in all of baseball. And if you want to boil it down even further, since June 1st, 677 bullpen ERA. Like, my goodness, you just don't have anyone trustworthy in this bullpen right now. Like Luis Morales, who they trotted out there yesterday, his ERA is above a 10. Jeff Hartlieb, his ERA is a 6. They've been throwing out there someone like the Louis Torre, I believe his name was, and his ERA was like a 43. I'm not even kidding when I say that. Jose Suarez has not been good. Justin Sturman Turner, Mark Leiter Jr. are now on the injury list. Brady Basso, right now he's supplying a 5 ERA. He was the opener in that weekend series against the Twins. Elvis Alvarado's in the building, giving up a bunch of runs, and for the Red Sox, they continue to be a top 3 team in terms of their bullpen ERA. Giovanni Morin, along with Garrett Whitlock, Teron Guerrero, they've been able to give you a sub 325 ERA. Obviously, Aroldis Chapman has been amazing for the team, and Peyton Tolley has been solid as well. I recognize that there have been, I think 4 of his last 7 starts where he's given up 3+ runs, but still, he's getting a 3.31 ERA, 2.6 walks, 9.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, while giving up 0.9 home runs per 9. Now, it is a ballpark out there in Sacramento that yields a lot of runs. Like the Athletics, they're a bottom 10 team in terms of run creation away from home. They're a top 8 team with regards to scoring at home. Keep in mind that Shea Langeliers is down on the injury list. They do get back Nick Kurtz, though. He was dealing with an injury for quite some time. He's up to 21 bombs, 4 on base. Jacob Wilson has been able to about a 280 for the team. Tyler Soderstrom has really been good since the beginning of the month of June as well. He's up to about a 350 on base, double figure amount of homers there. Carlos Cortez, Donovan Walton, these have been guys that have been able to move the line as well, but hard to have any faith whatsoever in this Athletics team. And then you got a Red Sox team that they're a bottom 8 team in terms of run creation at home. Away from home, they're more like 13th. They're averaging about 4.6 runs per game. Wilson Contreras, 22 plus home runs over 375 on base. And then you've got the likes of Wilder Abreu, Masataka Yoshida, Ceddanne Rafael, between about a 320 to a 335 on base. They've been able to improve. Still been disappointing for Jaron Durham, but still, Caleb Durbin has been much better recently, and I think that the Red Sox get the job done, and I think they put up some runs. Somebody told 10.2, like the over, and for the Red Sox, willing to lay up to a minus 110 on the run line. 971, 972 on the card. The Guardians are on the road against the Red Sox as Chase Burns goes for the Sox. Slade Ciccone goes for the Guardians, and the Guardians do find themselves as a pretty sizable underdog here. You're catching them between plus 140 to a plus 150. Meanwhile, minus 162 to minus 174. That number on Cincinnati, 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to a minus 120. Under is between even a minus 110. Set my money line price at a minus 173. If you're looking to lay a run off right now with the Reds, find that between plus 115 to a plus 120. I would rather take a chalkier money line here. It's not necessarily something that I'm jonesing to do, but still, I do think that this is going to be a little bit of a lower scoring game for the Guardians. They do get back Jose Ramirez, Angel Martinez. That should be able to help out the offense, but for the Guardians, they just still have not been able to score a lot with regards to their offense. They're averaging about 3.7 runs per game in their last 43 games. They got completely shut out yesterday, and you just don't have a lot of guys that are moving the line for the team. Travis Bassana has been able to give you about a 330 on base. Brian Rocchio and Austin Hedges have been significantly better in the lineup, but even Jose Ramirez, he has struggled a little bit all season long, going even back to prior to the injury, about a 335 on base. That's not where you're up to with him typically. Steven Kwan, he's up to about 350 on base. Do love that, but Kyle Manzardo less than a 300 on base, David Fry, P.D. Halpin, Reese Hoskins, a whole bunch of guys hitting below the Bedell sign of 200, and it continues to be a Guardians team that's been a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Been able to get a lot of production out of Hunter Gaddis recently with a sub 3 ERA. Tim Aaron is off the injury list, sub 350 ERA out of him. Eric Sabrowski has been a little bit shaky, but Cade Smith, he's been able to do a solid job, and for the Reds, it has been a team that's been a bottom 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA, but they've been a little bit better here recently. Being able to get Caleb Ferguson off the injury list has really helped them out. They've been more around like 15, 16 since June 1st, as you've got some like a Brock and Roberg, TJ Antone, who've been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, and this is just a spot where I do want to be trusting in Chase Burns. I recognize that if you look at Burns, the fielding independent doesn't necessarily match up with the ERA, but he's got really good swing and miss stuff. 242 ERA, 334 fielding independent with 10.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, still only giving up about 1 home run per 9 as well. He does come in having given up a few runs away from home, but this has been a guy that even though he pitches in a ballpark that is known as Great American Small Park, has been able to do a really good job in terms of taming this park. 232 ERA with about 0.9 home runs per 9 innings allowed at home, and with the Cleveland Guardians just not necessarily generating a lot of offense, do think that the Reds should be able to get the job done against a guy in Slade Ciccone that, to his credit, he's been much better. He has given up 3 earned runs or fewer, and now 12 out of his last 14 starts. I know that things have been a little bit up and down from 460 ERA, 448 fielding independent, but he's given up about 3 walks per 9 innings, 7 strikeouts per 9. He's a jag, just a guy, but with that bullpen, that really does play into an under, and for the Cincinnati Reds, they've been a little bit up and down with their lineup as well. You've got the likes of Spencer Steer, Elliot De La Cruz, JJ Bleday, hovering between about 15 to 17 home runs, and then cousin Sal Stewart. He's been incredible. He's been able to do a nice job supplying the boom with 20 plus home runs. He hits about a 250 for this group, but do still have some of these guys like a TJ Friedel, Cabrines at the bottom of the fold that just really haven't been able to get on base. Nathaniel Lowe has been relatively okay for the team, and obviously when you've got the likes of Dane Myers, Ellie De La Cruz, both give you about a 335 on base, that helps out a little bit, but do think that you get a lower scoring game. I like the Reds here on the money line, set them at minus 173, and like the under, somebody told it at 8.4. Wrap things up with 973 and 974 on the card. The Blue Jays are on the road against the Nationals. Andrew Alvarez goes for the Nationals, and it is Matt Scherzer on the bump for the Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays find themselves as plus 105 to plus 110 underdogs. Meanwhile, minus 125 to minus 131, that number on Washington. 10 is the total, under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. I actually do like the under here. I set my total 9.6, mainly because the Blue Jays are dead stinking last in terms of run creation. Lone team in the big leagues, averaging fewer than 4 runs per game right now. You've had Nathan Lukes along third and Clement, both hit above a 285 for this team, and you've got guys getting on base, like a Dalton Varsho has been able to hit about a 250, relatively solid on base. Getting back to Hendrik Pinago's been hitting about a 260. That should be a ball up. Now, you've had about a $145 average out of Davis Schneider. That's not great, to say the least. And Vlad Guerrero Jr., 6 home runs and a 345 on base. You expect a little bit more. Don't call his name all the way under. Kirk coming back. That should help out this offense a little bit. But Kazuma Okamoto, who's right now hitting just a 225, he's got 22 home runs, and he's a lone guy on the roster with over 11 homers. It's been a power outage here for the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, the Blue Jays bullpen has not been bad. You've got the likes of Louis Varland, Tyler Rogers. They've both been able to supply a sub 250 ERA. Mason Flaherty has been a little bit better recently. I recognize that Jeff Hoffman, that's not necessarily been the world's greatest situation for them, but you've been able to have some of these guys be able to be mix and match guys, be able to give you some relatively good innings, even like a Joe Mantiply when they've had him in the bullpen. I know that he's been a little bit banged up, but he's been solid. Adam Atko seems to be improving a little bit, but for Max Scherzer, holy crud, this is bad. This is his first start in about a month and a half. 10.23 ERA with 3.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Good grief. 5.7 strikeouts per 9. He's giving up over 4 walks per 9. I don't know how they're trotting this guy out there right now. It's just so bad that it's not even funny. And Andrew Alvarez has actually been really good for the Nationals. He does have a little bit of a walks concern, does give up about 4 walks per 9 innings, but I feel like he's actually pitched significantly better than his ERA would indicate. The fielding dependent says that. 4.22 ERA, 3.05 fielding dependent, 9.3 strikeouts, 0.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Nationals obviously have a little bit of a less than savory bullpen themselves, with PJ Poulin along with Pride Lord being on the injury list. That does hurt the team a little bit. I know that Richard Dickey Lovelady is on there as well, but Orlando Rebalta has been able to give you a sub 4 ERA. You've had Paxton Schultz not necessarily be the world's greatest mix and match guy for the team, but you've had a few of these other young guys be able to come out, be able to give you some relatively okay innings, and the big thing for this Nationals team is that they just slug their way to victory. James Wood continue to give you good wood, nearly a 4 on base, 28 home runs. CJ Abrams, he's up to now 27 bombs, and I believe that Wood with his home runs yesterday, he's up to 30, so these are the Bash brothers of 2026. Abrams is up to about a 370 on base. You're getting Brady Outs back in the fold. He had multiple hits yesterday. Luis Garcia has been able to give 20 plus home runs, recognizing you're now without Curtis Mead, but even without him, Adesim Nunez has been able to give you 25 plus home bases, about a 330 on base. You've got upside with these guys like an Andres Chaparro and company, so I really do think that the Nationals take it to Max Scherzer. I think that after Max Scherzer gets ousted after 2 or so innings, you do get enough good pitching for the under. Somebody told 9.6, like the under, but I think the Nationals should be more like a minus 182 in on them on the money line, and that'll wrap things up for the Monday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have 1 or 2 ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at GUnit_D1. Keep in mind, letters they mean does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm with you guys every single day, giving you picks and analysis on every game every day. Big thanks once again to Rob Donaldson of Underdog Fantasy for joining me in the second segment as well. And I'll be back with you guys once again tomorrow. Thank you.